Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Taos, Baltimore. We are Baltimore positive. We are in Essex, Maryland, next to my homeland of Dundalk, but you can't beat the pizza because we're at Pizza John's. It's all brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. Have Raven scratch-offs to give away. I'm waiting for the scented cotton candy cane. That's coming next, but I got some Ravens to give away. We got more crab cake tours ahead. We were at Coco's the other day, having great conversations in the community. Luke has left the building for all things baseball. He's in Owings Mills doing all Ravens. You can follow him out there at Baltimore Luke as well. And also, big thanks to my friends at GBMC. We talk about local people, local partnerships. GBMC taking good care of me as I educate people about knee surgery and hip surgery and making babies and all sorts of things. And even when you're 57 years of age and you're probably 12 years removed from being able to get a colonoscopy. I probably should have done it a long time ago, but my thanks to them for making sure that I'm healthy, and I'll hope to have a clean bill of health to report to everybody in a couple weeks, let you know that I'll be here to pester the Orioles and the Ravens in the next season. And it'll be 6 days, or give or take, before Thanksgiving, which is the Turkey Trot. John Hoey is here from the Y of Central Maryland. My man, Ron Cassie, is here with his Top Doctors Baltimore magazine. So I'm slipping from baseball into Thanksgiving, into Memorial Stadium, into the Y, and I said to Cassie, I'm like, hey, I'm doing this Turkey Trot thing this year. He's like, I've done the Turkey Trot. And I'm like, I got John here from the Y. He's like, I had a job at the Y when I was a kid, my brother and I. So, and Stan Jablonski was here, and he actually lived 3 blocks from the Dundalk Y when we were kids. I didn't live near the Y. I lived in Colgate, and my parents didn't drive. So I didn't go to the Y much, but when I did go to the Y, I went to the Dundalk Y, the pool. It was a big old, like old building even then, like wartime kind of. It was an old-fashioned looking building when I was there, and I know there's a new Dundalk Y. But anybody that wonders what happened to the old Memorial Stadium, I had Rick Emmett from Triumph on, the rock band Triumph, and he told me this story, and I didn't know this. He was a huge baseball fan in Toronto, of all places, and he told me his brother loved Cal Ripken so much that his dying wish was to have his ashes scattered at shortstop at Memorial Stadium. He told me this on the show, and I'm like, I know a guy that might be able to help with that. Okay. But literally, he didn't know what Memorial Stadium was, and I still think there are some people, John Hoey, who don't know that, it's now really a hub for an incredible organization like the Y that's been doing this kind of work in lots and lots of ways. And I'm always heartened. I can feel better going over there, and I went over recently because I had a friend from out of town who said, where was Memorial Stadium? Right. So I drove him over there on a Sunday morning after we had some pancakes, and I drove around, and I feel good about driving around. It used to really bother me. From all that Luke talked about, the light stanchions being gone and all that, my father's death, there were years I couldn't drive down 33rd Street, and my God, you guys have been doing good work there the last 2 decades, right, John?
We need to get you. We need to do a spot from there because we put up this great history wall inside the Y to give people a sense of what happened here. It's fun. I didn't grow up in Baltimore. I'm a New Yorker, but I moved here, and Nestor's heard the story, so I won't tell
my
that
audience,
story again.
the audience needs to hear it.
And when I moved to Baltimore, I moved here from Toronto. I'm a New Yorker. I was working for Citibank. They moved me down to Baltimore, and I flew in on a Friday night, stayed at Cross Keys. I got up on Saturday morning. I didn't know anybody or anything about Baltimore, other than I'm a sports fan. It's April, and so I bought the Baltimore Sun, and I saw that they were playing, and I was talking to the guy at the store. There used to be a store at Cross Keys, and he said, "Oh, Memorial Stadium is right down the street." So I bought a map. Back when you used to buy maps. And I had to rent a car, so I realized, oh, God, what am I going to do today? I'm going to go watch a baseball game, right? So my first thing I ever did in Baltimore was go see a baseball game.
And that puts you with Baltimore people, right? Like literally.
Where Cal and Billy were playing, and their father was the manager. And, so it was like, that was my welcome to Baltimore moment, and a really good one, great one. They won the game.
Won you over, too. You never left.
Well, yeah. I did leave for a little while, and then I came back. But so anyway, to me, history is important. I love history. I think it's people without a sense of history are kind of rootless in a lot of ways. Not ruthless, some are, but rootless. And so when we we built that building. Everything was before my time. But several years ago, we commissioned this beautiful history wall to give people a sense of what was here beforehand. And it's funny, you watch, people wandering in and out of that building. And, I love, a lot of older people go up to the wall because, it's their history. But I love when a 15-year-old kid walks up there and just stands there.
What was here? Yeah.
And reads that. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is great. They're learning something. Because as far as they know, this has always been the why. And, and that's cool. But this site was so much more. And so, Baltimore is great that way. It sounded like you came from New Jersey. I came here from New York via Toronto. And, I only expected to spend a few years here. I was on this corporate rotation for Citibank. And, they moved me back to New York after a while. But I ended up back here with another job, and I've never left. And Baltimore is this big little town that, I love New York. I still do. But,
It's your first time at Pizza John's?
It is.
First time at Pizza John's?
It is.
See, and so it's a small town, but this is a new place for you to see.
Yep. And you probably thought
Literally.
this too. Like, when I think of John's and pizza put together, I think of John's Pizza in Greenwich Village.
This is better than that.
Which is, I don't know about that.
That's pretty good.
Well,
get you some pizza.
I'm not going to judge, but I'm just saying.
Bring it two New Yorkers here.
If you're a New Yorker, Pizza John's has a. So
if you're from New York and New Jersey, the first time you come to Maryland, you're like, I'm in the South.
You're in the South.
That's what it feels like.
Wow.
You do.
You would never presume they have pizza.
People say like Mr. Nestor and
Right.
the accent and the food. All of it feels and
feels
right,
more South than North.
more South. And
See, I went to school in South Carolina, so I had a taste of the South.
yeah,
But you're right. It feels.
we do have Little Italy, which is great, but Rick.
But it's
Pitino,
really little.
The old basketball. It is today. Rick Pitino, the basketball coach, when he went to Louisville, he said he opened up an Italian restaurant because he couldn't find a good Italian restaurant to eat at.
Yeah.
That's a little bit when you're, from New York and New Jersey, how you feel a little bit like.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit out of my culture.
We'll get you good pizza.
I'll admit.
But I fell in love with crab cakes and seafood and things like that.
I
There's
agree.
other things you pick up.
The food scene here is great.
It is
now.
Yeah.
When I first moved here, I agree. I was a bit. My ex-wife and I, we would go to D.C. to go out to dinner.
Okay, because you had more options. You didn't have Moroccan.
Because we didn't we assumed, and we thought people would describe Baltimore as like Noah's Ark. It's got two of everything, but not much more than that. And so the assumption was there's a couple good restaurants, but over time, and there's great gems like this that once you live here, you really there's gems. But now I would say the restaurant scene in Baltimore is about as good as any.
And we have venerable places that have been open 50 years,
you've got
100
those.
years. You've been at my set.
And you've got more recent places that are. So it's a great.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm not a restaurant critic, but I may play one on TV.
You don't have to go to D.C. to get a meal in this.
But
town.
I would never think. I think you got better options in Baltimore.
I was in D.C. last night, and I assure you of that. John Hoey is here for the Y. Ron Cassie is here for Baltimore Magazine.
Even though you came for a restaurant review.
Ron, the last thing I want to say at Memorial Stadium, because it did remind me of this. And Ron, this is Mr. History here and Cassie, but Joe Ehrman did a piece the year they knocked Memorial Stadium down. So I guess it's 98, 99 in that era with Steve Sable. And Joe's son was a small boy then. It was a 10, 12-year-old boy. He had his boys with him. And I met them at the Culture Reunion we talked about a minute ago. Now they're, 40 years old, right? And Joe Ehrman was there. He now lives in Buffalo. Joe's very, minister and all that. He was in the upper deck, and you know how his voice, he's got that Buffalo thing going on. And he talked to Steve about it being the theology of a place, that things happened here. There's a history here. There's a spirit on 33rd. Yeah, and I feel that when I'm there. And you work and you talk about people coming up wanting to touch the wall and feel all of that. I think that is sort of a bit of a mysticism about sports in Baltimore, and why a guy who rooted for the Mets or a guy that's from New York would come here and fall in line with Babe Ruth or Cal Ripken or Johnny Unitas or even Ray Lewis for a 15-year-old.
Want to hear another funny thing?
We've had a lot. Sports has been a heartbeat of what we've done here.
Another
to
funny,
my last name.
another funny
World
welcome to
Series.
Baltimore moment for me. This is way back in 1989. So I had my first experience at Memorial Stadium. So we moved here. We were in temporary housing, and then we start to look for a house. So we have a real estate agent. She takes us around. The first house we go, we meet the real estate agent trying to sell the house. Who is it? One of Johnny Unitas' sons. I was like, I don't know much about Baltimore, but I know Johnny Unitas. I'm like, and I looked at real estate. Like, does Baltimore like this?
I worked at a hotel bar we moved that Artie Donovan's daughter was like the general manager.
Perfect.
I know, like, what is it?
Where are you? Right, exactly. But
That doesn't happen in New York. Those kind of things don't
You
happen.
don't run
in
into
New York.
Mickey Mantle's daughter.
No, right. But to your idea about place, right? Because I was talking about my father, my grandfather, my uncle before. So we have these memories, these connections that are very real. That the vector is this thing we used to do and we loved together. Is going to ball games, talking about baseball, watching. And when I think about when I first came to Baltimore Memorial Stadium, sitting in the upper deck, the last opening day I was there for, and I remember drinking Natty Bows with them in my 20s with friends that time. And I'm not from here, but I'm moving here and I'm meeting people. I meet my future wife, my daughter, and when she's born, she's like, the first thing at 6 months old, I take her to Memorial Stadium because I want her to be there before it closes. And she's like just sucking on a soft pretzel the whole game. And, in a stroller, or like in like the section out in right field. And so it's not even just the tactile things. Those tactile things reverberate within us because of all these other memories and
40
experiences.
years later, you're telling me a story about it.
Yeah.
It's that etched in your.
Well, I think
it's a part of you. It's a part of you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally,
Baseball has a capacity to bring us, experiences that other sports do not. Right? Like you mentioned, your daughter. I did a similar thing with my son to the old Shea Stadium, right?
My brothers and I still call it Shea. When we go
I
to a
do
game,
too.
we're
I
like,
did too. It's hard. Like City Field, and I work for Citibank, but I still, and I had a great experience there. But I still call it Shea sometimes. One of my best friends is also from Queens and lives in Baltimore. So we go back and we both we're going to Shea. No, we're going to
we call it Shea on purpose.
I'll take the train.
We call it Shea.
We'll say that in the road
It's so ingrained in our DNA.
I'll get a Pat LaFreda burger with you guys at City Field. I'll be into that for $38. John Hoey's here, and Ron. So Ron, you were you said you had Y connections, and before you even got here, John, I said I'm doing this Turkey Trot thing with John Hoey, and I know it's your biggest thing. And you said you're doing it too, so you're familiar with it. And obviously, you get press releases like the rest of the media here. You know a lot of things that goes on, but the Y and the Turkey Trot's part of Thanksgiving, right?
To me, it is a Thanksgiving tradition going up to Waverly, and you always see people up there. And I usually ride my bike up there from Fells Point where I live, and always see people. A lot of kids. It's a whole family. I mean, there'll be people from 7 to 70, dogs, strollers, like the whole thing. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's a
like
great
the Macy's
way.
parade for you, right? Kind of, sort of, right?
You do the run around Lake Montebello.
Yeah, it's a nice course.
It's a nice course. Flat, which is nice.
All right, give me the whole deal on Turkey Trot. What do I need to know about this?
Well, we do have 6 race locations.
I knew
so,
that, yeah.
I mean, we'll have to talk which one you want to go to. There's a lot of good. They're all good choices. They're like 6 kids, so I can't say I like one more than the other.
Go to the one nearest you.
Yes, that's what I say. But, I mean, I think we have 16,000 participants we did last year, and we hope to have a few more this year. It's a vibe, it's like the ultimate community thing. You're there, you see neighbors, you see friends, people are in a good mood. To me, Thanksgiving is like the best national holiday because it's just something we can all participate in. People are in a good mood.
It's non-political. It's non-partisan. It's not.
Right.
Everybody gets off. Everybody's happy to eat.
And
right?
And it's a 5K, so it's not a hard. People walk it, so we have people. Some competitive runners run it. Mostly people who just are runners. We have walkers. We have dogs. We have a lot of strollers. A lot of people are in their turkey costumes. It's just a very fun thing. You feel like you're getting some exercise. You are helping the Y that morning. You're helping your community. And I think people leave in a great mood. And I think, what more can you ask for to have an event that is something that feels good? You've exercised, so there's.
Well, you're the history guy. Give me the history of the event. How did it all come together?
Well, this event.
The NFL clearly zoned in on Thanksgiving as being a good day to, to market people.
Right.
At some point, the Y said,
and
let's
like everything with the NFL, they overdid it. But
well, somebody might have said Thanksgiving. We're not doing Thanksgiving with turkey. It's a dumb idea to get people out on Thanksgiving because there is a thought like you're with your family that day. That might not be the greatest day to do it, but you guys leaned into it, right?
But you're home by then. That's a great point.
You're home.
You're
home quickly, and if you got a bunch of relatives over who you really don't enjoy, you get out in the morning.
Love that.
So there's that. But the history is apparently something like around 30 years ago, a group of volunteers in Towson, the old Towson Y, came up with the idea.
So this is a local event.
It started as just a Towson Y event. A group of volunteers up in Harford County started the year after. We didn't have an actual physical Y up in Harford County until, quite a long time later. But we had programs up there, so we had volunteers up there. Again, it's way before my time. They said, "Oh, that's a great idea. Let's we're going to do that." So those two had turkey trots for lots of years, right? We had those two. I came into this role several years ago.
Stadium at Towson many years. Am I wrong in saying that? With the Towson one, the original base was around the campus, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The course has always been right around in that. It's in a neighborhood.
Sure.
So the course is right in that neighborhood, and so they were doing a bunch of fundraising things, and we just said, let's own Thanksgiving. Like that's the ultimate opportunity. There's a lot of events. Let's not do a rubber chicken event downtown where everyone's got to get dressed up and really doesn't want to be there. Let's do, forget the golf tournaments, all that kind of stuff. Let's just go all in on Turkey Trot. And then we expanded it eventually to 6 locations to say, it's a great opportunity. It's very much the why. It's about health. It's about community. It's about family. So that's us. That's what we do. But put it at 6 locations because people really don't want to travel very far. If you got the turkey in the oven and all that stuff. So it's really sort of took off, and it's this big event, which now again we have about 16,000 participants. We raise over $1 million that morning, and it's become a phenomenon, and I think we love it, and people, it's a tradition. You're right. People have done it. There are people in Towson who've done it every year for those 30 plus years.
Start your holiday feeling healthy, happy, and a part of something epic. It's one dose of fun for you and your family and food and financial assistance for another family. The perfect Thanksgiving recipe with 6 race locations across Central Maryland. Everyone is invited to this morning of good vibes and high fives. I'm good at both of those.
You got to do something before you sit in front of the TV, eat all that food, and watch football, right?
Absolutely.
You got to get out and get some sunshine and get some fresh air.
Because you know what's coming.
You know what's coming.
YMDTurkeyTrot.org is the way to do that. Now, you were a Y worker. What were you? You were a kid that...
So we've talked about. I was born in North Jersey, but we moved to Allentown, Pennsylvania when I was like in middle school. Went to middle school and high school there, and
now we're living here in Allentown.
Exactly, Billy Joel song. Yeah,
you literally were.
That's my So I think about my first job was summer camp at the YMCA. We were always members.
Not uncommon, right? That's a
very common.
Yeah,
first job at the Y, right?
Camp.
Yeah,
swim instructor.
Yeah, taught 6-year-olds how to swim, and we did the kickball and all that stuff with the 6-year-olds, 6-year-old camp.
Yep.
I don't know how old I was. I had to get a permit or something to work, I guess. But then, it was one of those places where like your whole family goes. Like my dad would go to swim, and then my brother. I've mentioned I have a brother 6'4", and when he got older, we used to go play basketball because that's where the best basketball was. We get guys from the EBA, the Allentown Jets, or guys who played for like the Philadelphia Bell. Really competitive athletes, and playing the basketball if you could get on the court for a while. And yeah, you had the gym, and back in those days, it was kind of before the elliptical machines, and it was all just
The old Universal,
the
right?
Universal, and then you had the boxing, and because Allen's had a wrestling room.
Yeah.
You know, and it was
Sure.
really old school, like,
sure.
you know,
Well,
weightlifting
Dundalk was old
equipment.
school too.
Yeah,
as I
well,
knew it.
you know, it's
What am I
Yeah.
going to find in Dundalk now? Dundalk's back open, right?
back open.
They had squash courts.
Yep. A
and
lot
everything,
do.
yeah.
Then,
And you also had a community room where you had like the soccer, you know, the foosball, and you had TV.
all of our Ys have what we call a family room. Where
Yeah.
I'm big on, like, we don't put computers in there.
Yeah,
TVs.
reading room. Yeah,
We put we put foosball and ping pong.
Yeah.
And
Is
it's
it
like
a non-device room?
not well. I mean, we don't require, but it's like we want people to engage with one another, and it's great to watch because then you go in at different times of day. You'll see an older couple playing ping pong with each other. Then you'll see teenage kids playing foosball. I mean, it
was our boys and girls
Yeah,
club.
we don't
City Rec
have-
Center was
yeah.
our place to go after
people
school,
need a place
weekends.
to just
ride your bike
hang
too.
out.
Yeah,
where they're safe and they're going to have a good time, and where they're going to see people in the community that they wouldn't see if they're sitting in their houses.
And getting some activity.
Yeah.
You know,
And
some
getting
human interaction.
exercise, which
Yeah.
is
So I'm gonna
essential.
do the show in Dundalk at some point. What am I gonna find when I get over there?
well.
Pool, right?
It's reopened. The pool has been redone. There's other parts of the building that the county is using. We are still talking with them. We'd like to do a lot more. We'd like to bring as much of the traditional Y activities back into Dundalk as we can. So we're working with Baltimore County to try to figure that out. Because it really, you know, people want, that's what people want. The people, you know, we talked about this when we were at Randallstown. People come in the pool and they're great. Where's the rest of the Y? And we kind of, you know, we say, well, unfortunately, this is what we have here. But when people walk into a Y, I think, you know, people expect a wide range of things, right? So we're talking to the county about that, hoping to expand their conception of what we do there.
Well, you always try to make it better. Why is Central Maryland? How many locations? And set me off on Turkey Trot, but also you like to brag about you. We were talking about 33rd Street, we talking about Randallstown, Dundalk, but you have locations all over the place.
Yeah.
Just a couple.
Well,
plug a couple of them. You can't talk about all of them. There's too
We
many.
have 10 Ys and 2 swim centers. But as we've talked about, we are really operating out of over 120 sites around the region. So we
Head Start. Right?
we have 30 Head Start sites around the region. We are responsible for 29 community schools in Baltimore City. We have 40 before and after school enrichment sites and schools. We have 6 preschools, about to open another one. We have a dozen camps, most of which are at our Ys, but a few are standalone overnight residential camps. And, you know, we just have wide range of programs from cradle to grave. Not quite the grave, I guess, but
keep you out of the grave is what we're trying to do.
helping to keep you out of there. Really for all generations. You know, so yeah, I'm really proud of the work we do. And, you know, we really are, you know, we're really trying to help families and communities not only, stay healthy, but stay connected to one another. We really live, we talked about this before, in a society where people are not engaging with each other in a civilized way. They're not engaging with each other across generations or race or income or other things or you know, political points of view.
And even in their own community where they live, being close together,
And
that is the bond.
they're
It's
turning
proximity.
they're turning into keyboard, you know, warriors. But Ys, whether it's in a classic Y or even a school site where we're operating Y, I think it reminds people that humans need other human beings, that the only way we're going to be successful as humans, as families, as communities, is to engage with one another, to support each other. And that's all the work we do, and we have thousands of programs, but all the work we do comes back to really building community and helping communities be connected, healthy, and engaged with one another. I'm really proud of it. It takes a lot of moving parts to accomplish that, but somehow we make it all work.
John Hoey's here from the Y, Central Maryland. Turkey Trot is Thanksgiving Day. Ron Cassie from Baltimore Magazine, senior editor, will be trotting and turkeying and all that. You know, this speaks to your Renaissance piece from about a year and a half ago. This month it's top doctors. I think my doctors at GBMC are top doctors. You can read on, but the community piece that someone like John brings is we sit here in Essex at a Pizza John's and talk about the renaissance of Baltimore and getting out a little bit. I think your magazine always is trying to touch the best stories in the city and these kinds of stories to bring people together. Speak to that a little bit, not just best of magazines and all that for Baltimore Magazine, but the storytelling part of good things that are going on here. I know that's what Steve Jeppe wants.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, part of our mission is, a big part of our mission is to share the best of Baltimore. I mean, what's going on and the stories of connectivity. I think I was talking to somebody else recently about, I was in New York, and there was an exhibition at the City Museum about all the films that were made in New York and how New York is mytholized in films. And Baltimore,
like Ghostbusters, right? Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah, or the Woody Allen films, like all
the
Spike Lee, right? All these films, but Baltimore has stood in for films in a lot of places.
Sleepless in Seattle,
right?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Barry Levinson, John Waters, back in the day, made some films here, but not quite. The story of Baltimore is not quite told in film the way New York has been. But I think that's what the magazine does, is we tell the story of Baltimore, and we tell some of the, I don't say myth and that's a lie, but the issues of history, of how the connection, the unfolding story of Baltimore, the people of Baltimore, the places that are magical to us and why that's important. And, I don't think you understand where you're going unless you know where you're coming from. And making those connections in storytelling is really what the magazine does best through our photography and our storytelling.
Well, I invited Max out along with you today, and today was your close day, right? Like literally, magazine goes to bed today.
Yeah,
right?
this was a little frightening to agree to this, and
that's why you were late. And Hoey was early, and I'm here, like all that.
December, January,
the November edition.
Yes. This is a Thanksgiving story. I should bring this up.
Well, for me, I'm an old journalist, right? So I sat at the paper, and a band would come to town and say, well, I'm going to get an interview with Geddy Lee or Paul Stanley, whatever, and the stories would come to you. I think there's a different thing from a magazine perspective to say, well, there's an event, Turkey Trot, we'll do a story on the why, that's nice, whatever. But then to go out and find stories off the beaten path or stories that don't come on a calendar or don't scream at you or something that you're like, I heard a story about something, but nobody's ever written it, so I need to go research it. And I think that's where a guy like you comes in. That's where you really take the essence of something and say, well, we know a little bit about that, but let me get like Paul Harvey, the rest of the story. And I think that's what you did in this piece, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things we have the opportunity to do with the magazine is if you're here, and I live in the city, I ride my bike everywhere, is you're trying to get a sense of what's unfolding, what's percolating, right? So you talk about the urban renaissance we did a year ago with the dramatic decrease in homicide and some of the good things that are happening. And kind of be ahead of the curve sometimes.
And you were. You were one of the first ones to write that kind of piece before
all the national
media was crowing about it.
And I think in the Inner Harbor we did a story in CFG Bank Arena where you're like, hey, this is
a big piece.
These are big. This CFG Bank Arena is going to be a big piece. Or a couple of years ago, these Inner Harbor pavilions are really in trouble. What's the future going to look like here? Mm-hmm. And so the story in the November issue on the Piscataway tribe that's indigenous to Maryland.
So I think of Piscataway, I think about New Jersey.
No, the Piscataway.
Right?
Yeah. So
only one time I've ever heard that word in my life.
So the Native American story in Maryland is really important and really hasn't been told. And this is November's Native American Heritage Month, but we're also coming up on the 250th birthday of the country, the 400th birthday of Maryland. And so I thought I really wanted to go back and understand this story because we think of these stories of being out west. We think of the Trail of Tears, right? We think of the horrible stories in South Dakota, like in the Indian reservations and the Christian schools, and I'm Catholic, and the forced coercion. But this stuff happened in Maryland first. We had reservations. We had forced Christian conversion. We had broken treaties. We took their land. We had the genocide. We had war parties against Native Americans. All happened in Maryland almost before anywhere else. 1634, the Ark and Dove arrived, right? We celebrate this in Maryland as Maryland Day. It's a legal holiday when they arrive. But 1634, by the end of that century, one lifetime, 66 years, right? In one lifetime, almost all the Piscataway are gone. I mean, they're essentially just wiped off the face of what becomes the state of Maryland. Now, they were also in like what we'd consider like D.C. today. But this was
Slaughtered.
a tribe of like 7. Well, a combination of disease, right? Stolen land because they can't eat, they can't farm, they can't hunt. It's all being taken away. So a combination of germs, guns, and disease, all this stuff destroys their way of life, and they all leave. Some go to Pennsylvania, some go to all the way to Canada, become part of the Iroquois, and still live there. Some go to the Ohio Valley and west, and some kind of return, and some never left. Some slowly assimilate with like intermarrying among indentured servants and free blacks, and never left. The DNA, the history is there, and even their way of life. And so to unpack the Piscataway story and interviewing and spending time with some of the surviving Piscataway members and learning that there's a Piscataway National Park in southern Maryland is a beautiful beautiful national park, the historic home of the Piscataway, where there's 1,000 years of chiefs buried there on sacred land that was going to be taken from them. And I talk about in the story is
the interesting part about this is I've never heard any of this. So
No,
this is
right.
This
So
is new.
Hey, how many Piscataway were you able to actually talk to?
So I talked about like a half a dozen for the story. This is Chief Mark Tyak. This is a little in the story. Here's a photograph of his grandfather, Turkey Tyak, who's really the linchpin. He's born in 1895. And he's the one that keeps these traditions alive. He's the one who fought for Mayonne, this historic town that survived before the Ark and the Dove, that was there for thousands of years, where ancestral were buried. And they would plant like a cedar tree at every burial. He fought to be buried there, need an act of Congress to be buried there, and the creation of this Piscataway National Park that survives. Ironically, across the Potomac River is George Washington's Mount Vernon, which is kind of an irony in hindsight.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful story, and these tribes were recognized by the state of Maryland in 2012, the Piscataway Convoy, and also the Assateague. And one of the things I learned, right, is every place that we love in the state, Chesapeake Bay, Assateague, Allegheny Mountains, Choptank River, Nanticoke River, all named after the tribes that lived there. That's where all these names come from. These are all homes to people that were wiped off the map. And
God, you're teaching me stuff. I feel like I need to get a proper piece of pizza here or something.
but I don't mean to go on, but it is a really remarkable story
like
that has
Spicoli,
been
to meet pizza and learning is what I'm
untold.
I think
You know
we're
what I mean?
both going to read this article now.
Yeah, no, I wanted, the idea a little bit was to
it's fascinating.
invert this story that we've been told about the arrival of English settlers.
I didn't know
and the
this
British.
story. I know the story is...
You have to know there were Indian
story
people here, right?
resonates
Sure.
because it's consistent, but the particularities of Maryland is very interesting.
It is.
I've never heard about a Native American in Maryland.
I mean,
but
the high
every
school
time
I
see
went to-
Susquehanna or I see these names,
Yeah.
I know they're Indian names.
Right, Susquehanna.
You know
The
that,
Susquehannock were a huge tribe that doesn't really exist
I never thought
anymore.
of Assateague or Chickatink or any of these
Right.
kind of...
All.
yeah, of
They're all
course
named
all
after
Indian
people who
names,
live there.
of course.
And
My high school in New York was an Indian name, right? Like we already take all this stuff for granted, and
So
we just think it's fun.
And this is
but
what,
this is
it's a good
history
time in Thanksgiving.
that we don't tell.
We don't tell, and in Maryland we don't tell it. And with Thanksgiving, it's really important.
to understand it. Yeah.
Governor O'Malley signed the recognition of these. They have state recognition, not federal recognition, which would really bring some benefits along. But the discrimination that the Catholic Church always recognized the Native Americans in Southern Maryland. One of the oldest Catholic parishes in the country is in Southern Maryland, and they were tri-segregated. So they had white people in the front, Indians in the back pews, and free blacks on the balcony. That's how the Catholic Church. But ironically, it's how some of the Piscataway records survive, because the Catholics are good about marriage and birth
Right.
certificate.
They record everything.
They record everything. So, ironically, despite the racism and segregation, because the census just blurred them out. The census was just like, free people of color. They just blurred out the Native American part of it. But I'll throw that as a question. Why do you think the Native tribes got recognition in 2012? What happened the year before that?
2011?
Yeah, what happened? Do you think anybody remember?
I don't, but go ahead.
2011.
Maryland's gaming casinos passed.
Oh,
yeah.
So they wouldn't take the chance of recognizing
Right,
tribe
right.
first, because they didn't want the Native Americans to get
To
the
get a
licenses.
casino, right.
So they gave them tribe recognition.
So that was
that's what was held up forever.
that's what they threw to them.
Yeah, it was literally held
Yeah,
up through
yeah.
Glendenning,
Right.
Ehrlich, And not that like state recognition would have gotten a foot in the door for her.
Right.
You would need federal recognition, but they was literally held up until then. So there's
I
still
see.
issues that are like in the land that they owned. I mean, this was their land, right? And they want Piscataway, other native indigenous people were like, look, if the government owns this land, it's not being used. If this is an empty lot, these acres, give it back. Let us do something with it, And they're very strong. They interview the tribal members I talked to on the Eastern Shore, Southern Maryland, and a lot didn't get into the story. They're very strong on environmental issues to this day, which are very, very important to them. The sacred nature of the connection to the land, which I think we're coming around to today. So this is not just
That's
the
the
past.
Indian crying in the don't litter from 50 years ago.
But this is
Right,
not
right?
just, I don't think I'm not really interested in just doing the story for what happened 400 years ago. It's how it reverberates, today and where we live today. And I like, at least when I'm going around the state, going,
History does not go away.
No.
I really believe that. History does not go away. It keeps coming back to you. And that's why I think it's so important to understand it.
All right, We're Still Here is the name of the piece. Ron Cassie is the senior editor of Baltimore Magazine. He is here. It is the Top Doctors magazine. I hope the Top Dr. Scary's going to take care of me in a couple weeks over at GBMC. John Hoey's here from the Y. He's got Turkey Trot. I'm hoping to be back up on the grid for Turkey Trot. Where am I going to Turkey Trot?
You tell me. Where do you want to go?
Well, I live in the Towson area, but I'm always partial to Memorial Stadium or Sig's down there. I don't know. Where should I go? Where I want to go where I'm most needed, or appreciated, or desired, or what's comfortable for you? What do you think?
Wow, I don't know. I'm going to get back to you on that because there's so many options.
All right.
I mean,
I'm going to participate.
The governor sometimes runs. Governor Moore.
Okay, I'll chase him.
He
I've been chasing him for 3 years.
A lot of times he'll register and tell us he's coming and then not show. He's the governor. He's got stuff going on. I understand that. But he does come. If he comes, he'll run at
Memorial. He lives over
Memorial
there.
Stadium.
Yeah.
He used to be an active member of that.
Is the Hit It Here flag still up there?
Is the what?
The
Hit
Hit
It
It Here flag after Frank?
No, it's not. It's not there anymore.
The Frank Robinson.
But
There was
the
a
Ring of Honor is in the gymnasium.
Okay.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to come visit.
You got to come in.
All right. John Hoey's here from the Y. Turkey Trot is available. I had the website here because it was kind of an you can just Google it, but it's Y, the letter Y. Why? Because we like you. mdturkeytrot.org. ymdturkeytrot.org. And, of course, Baltimore Magazine.
Yeah.
You can find them at BMag.
Register right as soon as you can.
Tell Max that it's good. The magazine's done now, and she can come out and visit with me sometime soon, okay?
I will. Yeah.
She and I went back and forth. You know about Max and I this week? Oh, okay. So Max puts a thing up on. You guys are not from around here, so you weren't here in 1976.
No.
We had a very famous about movies being made in Baltimore, and Justice for All was made here in Baltimore.
1979.
Al Pacino. So apparently Max is doing some sort of piece for the magazine on the legend of And Justice for All.
I happen to be editing that piece.
All right. So she reached out because you're the senior editor of Baltimore Magazine. I'll remind her of that as well. So she's the chief, though, right?
Yeah.
Listen, there's a Native American term. She's the editor-in-chief. See, anybody can be an executive or a CE or whatever.
Yeah.
When you're a chief executive officer,
Well, there's another. We've appropriated that term from.
There you go. We have.
Well, see, I moved here in the middle of this whole period where these films were being made. And I was tending bar at a place. Yeah.
And what was
I was
the Tom
tending bar at the
Selleck
Tremont
flick was here,
Hotel
right?
part-time, like at night.
Homicide was getting shot.
Yeah,
all
so
that, right?
and some of the actors would stay there.
Diner
was before
Yeah.
that.
One
but
of the great movies
Tin
made
Men.
Tin Men.
Tin Men,
was
yeah.
here.
Barry Levinson had a string of great.
Yeah, there was a time.
Avalon?
She said,
Awesome
Richard
movie.
Gere and Julia Roberts did a movie.
That's
They're-
Runaway Bride.
Yes, and
that's the
they're
one
in
I couldn't
Hamden.
think of.
Runaway
That's the one I
Bride.
couldn't
There
think
you
of.
go.
Yeah, so I had this idea we should do a story about this period. Like I said, kind of like, we kind of mythologize Baltimore. We kind of want to remember these things. And
then
there's
The
still,
Wire came
You
along.
still have Veep and House of Cards. You still have films being made here.
Veep, yeah.
And I played an Iowa State Trooper, by the way, in House of Cards.
You got your card, do you?
No,
Acting
I was
Extra.
extra.
Oh, okay.
But the big deal was they could get the state trooper outfit and the hat on and the gun and everything. Like that was, I made it.
That's fun.
But yeah.
almost an extra
But
major league too,
I had the idea. And I said, but Max, you got to write it. You're the film critic. It's her.
Major League Two was made here too.
Major League Two.
Yeah, like,
The Replacements was made here.
Replacements was made here.
Yeah, Chris Rock and Will Smith and Whoopi Goldberg made films here.
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman was the coach. The rolled up thing. Yeah, the hat.
Jack Warden has made lots of movies here.
Yeah.
So, And Justice for All, Max is looking for somebody or anybody.
Yeah.
And I told her, I'm like, Tom Davis was in And Justice for All. His
funny.
face
Yeah.
appears in it. And I've told for years, every time I see Tom, last Saturday night, the night of Game 7, Leonard Raskin from Raskin Global, my partner, was throwing his annual crab soiree out in Timonium, and Tom and he are close. So I saw Tom last week, and I congratulated him on getting into the Oriole Hall of Fame and all that. And Tom and I had to get the hell out of there. It was Game 7. I'm like, it's third inning. Bichette just hit the home run. I got to leave. I got to go home.
Yeah.
To see the greatest baseball game of all time or whatever. And Tom started to, let me tell you about it. I'm like, don't tell me, tell Max. So he told me this story about him and Pacino and how they had to shoot the scene 15 times in a row. So I know you're doing this movie thing at Baltimore Magazine, so I want to give Max some love. Max, I hope you get together with Tom
Max will come on. She'll come on when the story comes out. I was going to say, so I was like tending bar at the Tremont. I was at the Midtown during the day, and at night I worked at the Tremont, and C. Thomas Howell and Juliette Lewis were doing a movie. This is like 1989, 1990. It went nowhere. But sometimes we had some famous people come in, and it was kind of funny. Johnny Depp and Tracy Lords and everything. I knew people who knew them, and I had friends who were like extras, right? And the fun thing about doing the House of Cards was like, I was there on set. This is in Harford County. When Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright, I actually met them. She was directing that episode. So you're in there.
Sean Penn's wife. Go ahead.
You're seeing the whole thing being done, which is kind of fun. I think people hand them on. It's fun to see Julia Roberts and Richard Gere on the street and 34th Street doing their thing, right? Like we all got to get a kick out, a little glimpse behind Hollywood, and I think it's fun. I think people like when movies are made here because Baltimore can stand in for New York.
I was driving down Calvert Street about 30 years ago. And I looked to the left, and that little beaten-up motel that's like near Chase on St. Paul, kind of old beaten-up piece. And Richard Belzer was standing on out in front. They were shooting Homicide in there.
Yeah.
And I'm at a red light, and there's Richard freaking Belzer.
I have a Richard Belzer story.
And I yelled at him, Belzer, I love you. But Belzer's a New Yorker.
All right, so, I worked for Sylvan Learning. We actually were the first company that signed a lease in Harbor East.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
Baltimore Magazine moved in that building.
Yeah, and so I'm in my office and I'm working, and it looks out and there's they built an apartment building like right next to it. I got stuff going on in meetings. I look, all of a sudden I turn and I look up out the window. Richard Belzer's like almost feels like as close as you are to me, standing on the balcony, just smoking a cigarette, looking at me, and I was like, "Hi, Richard Belzer."
We both have.
He kind of, I'm like, literally, like, you don't see that every day.
The late great Richard Belzer.
Yeah, it was just killing time.
Well, it's not often. To your point, it's not often you see a movie star on the street in Baltimore. So there is something about that.
It's a little behind the scenes look at like Homicide was a big hit TV show and Sleepless in some of the movies like House of Cards, like they used to.
We had a period. We had a little.
Robin Wright used to jog in Patterson Park, right? That was the park where they used to jog. So it's kind of it's kind of fun to see. It's like when you're a sports writer, you go to the ballpark and you get to go in the dugout in the locker room for the first time. It's kind of fun to see behind the scenes.
Only movie story I got is about 15 years ago. Nicole Kidman was in Baltimore shooting a movie.
Yeah.
And it was in my building. I lived at Harbor Court at the time, and there were flyers up everywhere, condo association. Nicole Kidman shooting here Friday from 6 p.m. till Sunday. Like, we couldn't even go in our lobby. And our doorman, Al, said, I came in, and Al was the best. He's like, I saw Nicole Kidman last night. She was in the building. She walked through. I saw her. She was beautiful. And I'm like, Nicole. So they shut our building down when they make these movies. These movie people, they're all, you would always know when they're shooting a movie because the meat truck would be outside. They'd have the catering. Yeah. The catering trucks would be lined up out on the street. Yeah. And I'm like, they're shooting a movie here.
Sometimes you got to move your car.
There was always signs. No parking in this block.
Well, Veep. We got it when Veep, which I thought was one of the great shows.
Great show, yeah.
They contacted us and they wanted to film a scene in one of our Ys, the one in Ellicott City.
Okay.
it was a campaign appearance, And so, they want to shut it down for the day. And I said, well, there'll be a price for that. But we worked it out.
Yeah.
They were, they allowed a few members to sit there and watch and they go in and they just use one room and they repainted the whole thing, right? And they shot their scene and then they leave. They repaint it all back to the color that it was, and it's just like, wow! It's just a room, for God's sakes. But the amount of money they spend
Attention
and
to
time
detail.
and attention to detail, and some guy is assigned to go in and paint in a certain period of time, and then the next guy. It is a whole interesting process, and I always think
Glad I'm not in that business.
well, it's an expensive business
Yeah.
because everything has an incredible cost to it. That is my observation. But
Yeah.
look, we sit there and watch a show like Veep, which I thought was spectacular.
Yeah.
And we love it.
So funny.
Because you're right. Their attention to detail allows these shows to just work.
I love storytelling, man. Baltimore Magazine, here to tell stories. John Hoey from the Y is here. Make sure you're supporting the Y and Turkey Trot. I'm going to get over to Dundalk and do the show sometime soon. And, of course, Ron Cassie with a great, great story about the Piscataway tribe here in Maryland. My thanks to Luke Jones for stopping by as well. We talked some baseball with Ron. Rasig came by. I bought everybody pizza. I tried to buy him pizza, and they bought their own pizza. So also my thanks to Stan Jablonski, my high school pal, for stopping by for a little while. And we had some great guests early on. Todd Schuler and Bill Cole, great friends in real life. I know them separately. They've never done radio together. We did an hour here talking. Started with AI, and it devolved into, coaching high school sports. So you never know where this thing's going because it's Baltimore Positive. My thanks to the Maryland Lottery for sending us out Raven scratch-offs to give away. I had two women at Coco's on Wednesday, and you've done the show. Both of you have done the show with me at Coco's. They came up from behind me, and they got in front of me, and they're holding tickets up in the middle of the show. And I'm like, give me the tickets. I said, you're a winner? And, well, we don't know. So I got my scanner out and I scanned them. First lady won $20, and she's jumping, dancing, retired school teacher. Next lady won $5. She danced more. So I put that out online. So people really win. I really give them away. They really are lucky, for crying out loud. I bought somebody half a crab cake over at Coco's. We're here at Pizza John's eating pizza and French fries, and we invite you to come down and do that as well. My thanks to GBMC for getting me out, keeping me healthy a couple weeks from now. Fingers crossed that everything goes as well as I need to go. I feel healthy, but they tell me that's part of the whole deal, that it can be fleeting. So my fingers are crossed. I'm drinking my milkshake. I'll be doing things the right way. Luke's doing things the right way out in Ravens camp as well. We got a big football week ahead. Signing off from Pizza John's as part of the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. My thanks to John and Ron. Back for more. After this, we are Baltimore Positive. Stay with us.